Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 14, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Well, a better round for us tipping-wise, and the Warriors ended their losing streaks. Overall, not a bad weekend. First of all, how was your weekend, and what did you think of the round?
Evening, Brad. Weekend was good, mate. I was on call for work and got absolutely zero calls, so how good.
Bonus.
And the league was good. As you say, we got a win. That's always great, and I quite enjoyed pretty much all the other games as well. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I too was working, but I didn't get a call. I was doing testing from home. Very exciting, very boring for everyone to have to listen to. But yeah, thankfully the Warriors played on a Friday night, which helped. But yeah, while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch the show at your convenience via the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of round 11 and an update on our tips. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys as well as questions we've got for each other. We'll then preview the Indigenous round and make our picks before ending the night with a recap of Super League. So remember to send us questions and comments throughout the show and we'll do our best to answer them. But we may as well jump straight in, Richie, with the top stories.
Sounds good.
Probably the best news of the week. Anthony Griffin has been sacked by the Dragons, effective immediately. Ryan Carr's going to take over as interim head coach. All jokes aside, it's always bad to see someone lose their job, but the writing was on the wall even before the season started, I thought. So what's your take on the Dragons and everything that's going on at the moment there?
Yeah, the writing was very much on the wall. I think you and I both predicted him as
we finally got a prediction right.
We got one. First coach to be sacked this year. The drums just started beating louder and louder week by week. And I think it's time Hook and the Dragons had a divorce. It just didn't seem to be working. I think you could see in his team selections and everything, and it just wasn't working there. Much to your pleasure, Brad, but
definitely,
definitely time for a change.
Yeah, and the Dragons on a whole have been a mess. The players got sent out to face the media. I think they said it was even before they were told that Griffin was sacked, but the media had been told. So they were kind of thrown under the bus. There's all these rumors about guys like Ben Hunt and all that leaving. They want out and they want to go anywhere. Bulldogs and a few other places have apparently been contacting Ben to see if he's interested in jumping ship. So he's one of the best players, so it'd be bad to see him go. But I think, in all honesty, the Dragons probably do need to just wipe the slate clean. I think I even used that in my notes for the Dragons game. But I think they need to wipe everything out and start again. There's been talks about, I think, who were the players? There was Ben Hornby and Jason Riles are apparently two they've earmarked to take over. But do you think the Dragons in their current state is something a new inexperienced coach would want to take on, or do they need to look somewhere like, he's the only one that pops into my head right now, but like a Des Hasler, someone who's been there, done that can try to come in and fix it?
Yeah, possibly, but you look at Riles and Hornby, they're a couple of Dragons old boys. Jason Riles is pretty highly rated as the upcoming coach, so I mean, it couldn't get any worse than what they're doing, right? It could be a good call to start fresh with a couple of faces like that.
Yeah, and I suppose, in fairness, we were probably almost saying the same thing this time last year when the Warriors were looking at moving on Nathan Brown, going, 100%. Do they really want an inexperienced guy coming in and fixing what's happened at the Warriors? And the business-minded people at the club made the right decision as it looks right now. So what do we know? But the Dragons, I think, is a harder situation than what the Warriors were.
Any room in the sombrero for a Ben Hunt? Roosters? Let Sam Walker go. Wouldn't surprise you, would it?
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as we've got some comments in there, yeah, Dragons need a good 6, couple of good middle forwards. Yeah, I think they just need a clean out, start again. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, this is the final bullet on that sinking ship, and they can get the wooden spoon for me, so I can get another prediction right. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about them as they're my favorite team. So we'll see what happens. We'll move on from a sack coach to a coach that's decided to give it another year. Craig Bellamy has announced that he's going to stay as the Storm's head coach for 2024. I feel like this is almost similar to the Cameron Smith at the Storm saga, where every week we were saying, is he going to stay on or is he going to retire? I think we're going to be like that with Bellamy, and he's completely in the right to, if he wants to stick around, to keep going. I think if the Storm were going better, he might have said, yeah, this is me. But I think he sees that the team he's got now is going to need like another year to be where he wants it to be. So I think he wants to retire on top, which he's well in his rights to do. But what's your take on Bellamy sticking around again?
Mate, we're going to be sitting here in 10 years' time talking about Craig Bellamy signing his 10th one-year contract extension. Yeah, I don't know. Why not? Like, it's not like when you watch them play, it looks like the game's passed his style by.
No.
They might be a little less effective due to losing some pretty big players recently, but, I mean, they don't look like they're dropping out of the 8 anytime soon, do they? I think they're still going to be well up there. They just beat Brisbane, who were top of the ladder. So if anyone's earned the right to keep going around, it's Bellamy at the Storm. It's just always worked.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to be another Bennett. He's just going to be around forever. But Mark Roberts said he thinks Bellyache should have retired. His levels have dropped off this year. I don't think he has, Mark. I think it's just
players.
Yeah, he lost a lot of experience out of that team, and I think they're going to bounce back stronger next year. But they're still well in the 8 and doing well now. So I think they'll still be strong this year too. But we'll see what happens. I think Bellyache's probably going to stick around for a couple more years at least. But next bit of news, I know you were very passionate about this earlier in the week, Richie, but Mount Smart now has a new name. It's Go Media Stadium Mount Smart. Go Media has got the naming rights for a year, but they may extend. You've already shared your thoughts a lot with me about this, but what's your thoughts on here?
Yeah, I shared them with you, so I might as well share them with all of you guys. I said the name of the stadium hasn't changed to me. It'll always be Mount Smart. I still sometimes call it Ericsson Stadium. Catch myself out. I can't teach an old dog new tricks, I guess. So, I'm going to keep calling it Mount Smart. Go Media Stadium. I don't know.
Things change all the time. Sky Stadium in Wellington and things like that. But I still occasionally call it the Cape Tin. And I think it will be something that you get used to. I remember back when Ericsson was changed back to Mount Smart, and I was like, oh, it just seems weird, and now it's second nature. I think I think I said to you and Ruin Hammer when we were discussing it, as long as Go Media actually do something. Like I listened, there was an interview with their CEO, and he was talking all about how great he is as a businessman, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I wanted to hear, he was more talking about what things they could bring to the stadium as opposed to what they're going to do with the stadium. So he was talking more about, we want to get soccer in there, we want to get thing, and it's like, I don't understand what power you have as a naming rights sponsor. Like, is it just you give money and your name gets there? I don't think you have business decisions in what goes on in the stadium. But I'm hoping that the money they give actually goes into upgrading some of the stuff there. I don't think I've said it on here, but they've upgraded a lot of the seats in Mount Smart, except for the West Stand where I sit and where you used to sit. So hopefully that money goes towards giving me a new seat because it's getting a bit tired. And yeah, Mark Hammers said, yeah, he hears new seats would be, yeah, I've been bitching about it a lot. And Robbie says he loves my mullet. I still don't have a mullet, Robbie. It's just the way headphones mess up with my hair. But yeah, so Richie will still call it Mount Smart. We'll probably still do that on the show. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But it's got a new name as of now. So that is the new name. Next bit of news was quite big. Richie, France have pulled out of hosting the next Rugby League World Cup, which is happening in 2025. Australia and New Zealand are keen to take control with Greg Peters, CEO from New Zealand Rugby League, has indicated he would like to see some of the matches played in the islands as well. But I've also heard that Qatar might be interested in grabbing it. I didn't get all the details of that. I just saw that today. But what's your take on first France giving up the rights and then where you would like to see it?
Qatar is a bizarre one. For rugby league anyway, it was bizarre enough that they got the football one. But hey, I'm just going to put a super biased hat on. Give it to us to host. Have it here. Why not? Don't need Australia to hold our hand through it. They've had it plenty of times. They can.
Yeah, I think we talked about it when the World Cup was actually on, that it felt weird that it was going to be in the Northern Hemisphere 2 World Cups in a row, and it should be Northern, Southern. So I think Southern Hemisphere, I do like the idea of, there were some people saying the island, like Pacific Islands should host it, but they don't have the resource to.
No.
But I like the idea of if it was based here or if it was based here in Australia and you took games to the island nations, I think that would be good. I think the last World Cup down here, they did a whole pool in Papua New Guinea. So you could kind of do that where maybe you have this like Samoan pool in Samoa or the Tongan pool in Tonga or vice versa. It'll be good. But yeah, we've got a couple of years on the show to talk about it. And yeah, Jacko said no to Qatar. I don't, other than the fact that they've got a lot of money, I don't see the reason to go there.
Would anybody turn up?
You know, we got.
Do they know what rugby league is? There'd just be people traveling there that, yeah. Hey, Paul, you got a good opinion on this?
No, I just look. I mean, Qatar's got a history of over the last sort of 5-10 years of basically trying to buy up any international sports event it can to sport wash its disgusting human rights record. Let's be blunt. So I mean, look, it's had a cycle race there. It's had the Football World Cup there. It's had a Grand Prix there. You had the Asia Games or something like the Asia Games or something there as well. So look, I mean, they would host it well because they're used to hosting international sports events. As you say, a bit like the Sevens Rugby World Cup that was in Russia. You had empty stands though, because it's just not. It just doesn't have any appeal there. If it did have fans, they would just be shipped in as a rent a mob, go sit there to make it look good, which they might do, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it would be better down here. So, but I'm sure we're going to hear about it. And yes, like Simon said, he thinks the World Cup needs to be in one country and one region. If it's going to be New Zealand, it has to be in Auckland and Upper Central North Island. Islands having it spread out will be a cost. Yeah, so spreading it around. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it. But then I'm, an idiot that hops in my car and drives all the way down to Wellington to watch a Warriors game. And, next week driving all the way to Napier to watch a Warriors game. So I will travel. And I'm just looking at it as a selfish person where it would be cheaper if it was in New Zealand than if I had to try to go to a World Cup and go overseas. So yeah, I'm being selfish. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we move on, guys?
No, I'm good.
All right. So Vaughan said that the soccer stadiums are being pulled down. They won't rebuild for rugby league. Yeah. So yeah, I think that one's not going to come. And Simon said Olympic handball is a traditional sport of Qatar, and they brought the World Cup without, and then stopped interest after the Soccer World Cup. Yeah, I think they just like the idea of being the event holders, as Paul said. But I don't think it's going to benefit anyone. So next topic, we talked about it very briefly last week, Richie. All the talk about Sean Johnson and his future. The Tigers have apparently ramped up their offer to a 2-year deal worth around $600K a year. Warriors coach Andrew Webster has come out and said that he wants SJ to stay, but admits that they haven't actually discussed anything yet. I listened to an interview with Cameron George today, and he basically said the same thing, that Sean hasn't sat down with them yet. But Sean Johnson and Webster talk a lot, and when the time's right, they'll have a discussion. But yeah, what's your take? I personally don't think he's going anywhere. His wife's, pregnant with baby number 2. He took unders to come back to New Zealand. I don't see him going back to Sydney, and I might have a different opinion on if it was like the Roosters or a team like that were wanting him, but the Tigers, I don't. Rogers coming back, the Warriors are actually looking good at the moment. Are you leaving that to go to the Tigers, which, are lucky to get 3 or 4 wins a year?
Yeah, exactly right. Everything is telling me that I believe he'll stay, and I hope the club comes up with a desirable enough offer to keep him around. I don't think he'll want to go, given that this year he's looking the happiest he's looked in a long time. His family's based back here. I think that's has a lot to do with the way he's playing. So
yeah,
I think Roger coming next year and the way we're playing, it'll be hard for him to want to move. So yeah. I just hope the Tigers bugger off sometime soon and move on to another target.
Yeah. We'll obviously talk about it once we have anything more. But I thought since we only kind of breezed over it last week, we may as well cover it here. And Jack has said doggies may get interested as well if they can't get Ben Hunt. I don't know if the doggies will go, because he almost signed with the Dogs when he signed back with us. It was basically the contract was on the table, ready to sign. It was when he came back here, and it just out of the blue. It was a deal. It was completely under radar, and he had to actually call. It was what's his name? Who was the coach back then? Bulldogs coach. I can't remember his name right now. I apologize. But he had to call him and say, sorry, it's not happening now. So yeah, we'll see. Next bit of news: Todd Smith, referee that was well known for refereeing the Warriors-Panthers game and getting the One New Zealand CEO very upset, and his bunker buddy Gerard Sutton have been dropped this week after a poor showing in the Storm Broncos clash. It was basically a horrible fortnight. Yeah, Barrett. There we go. Everyone's saying Trent Barrett. Sorry, yeah. See, you get sacked, you're out of my mind. So Todd Smith, a bad game against the Warriors, got him a promotion to a bigger style game, but then he messed up in that one and now is sitting on the pine. What's your take on that? I felt this was going to happen because of how Ellensley came out very in defense of the refs and saying, like, if they mess up, they get punished. So now that after drawing that line in the sand, if they mess up, they had to be punished. So, and it was a shocker. I think he was worse in this game than he was in the Warriors-Panthers game.
Oh yeah, hard to argue. Not just him, the bunker obviously
the bunker
as well. Like you said, Sutton's been dropped as well. Not the best couple of weeks for Todd Smith and the officials in general. But just find it interesting. Wasn't that great against us. Nothing really comes of it, and when it affects the Broncos, you get the chop. Even with some of the decisions, like the hip drop, the Carrigan hip drop, that was pretty laughable. But we've had the same thing. I think if I go back to Jackson Ford's one, I wasn't I didn't think that was very bad either. But yeah, when it's a big team like the Broncos and big players like Carrigan,
Yeah.
I'm happy for Carrigan that they didn't see much of it, because he missed a lot of time last year for a bad hip drop, and I don't think this one was bad at all. Particularly leading into the Origin, I really didn't want to see him wiped out. He's
Of course you did. You're a New South Wales fan. You wanted him gone.
You want the best versus the best, mate. I mean, I know I support New South Wales, but you want the best versus the best.
So we should have like Samoa versus Queensland or something. Get rid of New South Wales entirely.
Whatever.
Yeah, and I see Jacko said they really messed up the Storm Broncos game. Yeah, I think the refs ruined that game. It put a lot of what ifs into it, which you don't want. Like, I feel like the game was a lot closer. And then, yeah, once that happened, it was kind of all she wrote. So, yeah, hopefully we see more. Well, hopefully we don't see many more mistakes of that magnitude in the refereeing, but it's good to see that they're being held accountable now, which they always said they did, but it never felt that way. But yeah, we'll move on. The Brisbane Tigers have announced their intention into applying for the 18th NRL franchise. At the opening, they opened their $10 million stadium. I think it was either yesterday or this morning. They lost the race for the 17th to the Dolphins, but they've said that they're going to make their bid very hard to say no to. I personally don't think it should go to them. I feel like another team in Brisbane doesn't really deliver what the NRL are trying to achieve, which is trying to spread the game out. Having, yet another Queensland team in there. I think it was always going to be either the Dolphins or the Tigers, and that was it. Plus, there's already a Tigers in there. Yeah, and Bruce said Brisbane or Queensland can definitely have another team. No, I think they need to go elsewhere. They need to spread the market, which is what they're trying to do. Perth, Adelaide, anywhere else, but another one where there's already teams, solidified in there. But what's your take, Richie?
I can see Rob's point. I definitely think Brisbane can support another team. I think Queensland, Brisbane, and in particular, have a massive rugby league following. So do I think it could happen? Yeah. Do I think it should happen? Not so sure. I'd personally be in the camp of putting it somewhere into a new market.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. Even on the NRL, as much as they like to tell us they're smart, they're very simple people. They'll go, we've already got a Tigers. We can't have another one because people will get confused. And yeah, they were saying, like Simon said, the West Tigers brand will be Magpies again. I don't see them wanting to change their name. So, and why they'll say, why should we change our name? We've been here forever. Admittedly, one of the worst teams around, but we're here. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see it happening. But we'll see what happens. We've got a bit of time before the next one. But I saw a comment earlier that goes into this about Manu Vatuvai. So former Warrior Manu Vatuvai is set to be released from prison on the 31st of May on parole. The Warrior CEO Cameron George has confirmed that Vatuvai will be returning to the club in their wellbeing department in an unpaid part-time capacity. I've got a quote from Cameron George before I throw it to you, Richie. He said that neither him or the club condone Vatuvai's offending. However, as he and we move forward, the Warriors certainly want to be part of his rehabilitation, and further than that, hopefully use his story and his lessons to help teach and guide young men down the right path. Yes, he's done wrong and made mistakes, but he's paid for that. Our position now is being part of his rehabilitation, and hopefully his story can have a positive impact on some young, aspiring athletes. What's your take on Vatuvai getting out early and returning to the Warriors as a mentor?
Yeah, I don't know that I'll go too deep into how I feel about him being let out early and get into
Come on, I'm trying to throw you under the bus here.
I want to get into conversations about the justice system, but I just hope from a fan's point of view, somebody who loved watching the Beast play, that once he's let out, he makes something positive of the lesson he's been given. And if he comes into the club and helps out with the young players, and they can learn from his mistakes as well, then yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with kind of the angle that Cam George gave on that. So yeah, I just wanted to see him learn from what happened and come out of it better off, and obviously don't go down that path again.
Yeah, and Mark Roberts has said it sends us backwards in what we're wanting to do with the club. It doesn't sit well with me at all. Yeah, I'm not. I can see what Cameron George is saying, where his story could be helpful to young players and the decisions they make. I personally feel like he's been let off for what he did a bit too soon, in my opinion. And it's good to see them wanting to help him. We'll see what it actually means. They've also got Tony Gelling in that well-being area of the club, and he's got a rocky past. So they, as much as Mark said, it sends us backwards in what we're trying to do. They've already got players with shady pasts in there working in that department. So it kind of fits what they're doing, if I'm honest. But yeah, we'll see. It's not like they're throwing him money as well. It's basically almost like, his, it's adding to his, what do you call it? Like he's doing PT. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, voluntary part, and and say it far too quick. Saying it's not really a job for the boys though, Mark, because he's not getting paid. It's just giving him something to do, I guess, so he doesn't do bad things again. But yeah, and there are other great. Yeah, Russell Packer's one. Matangi. Matangi actually spent time in prison and came back out of prison, got signed by the Warriors, and really made a life for himself. And even now, he's still in the Northern Hemisphere, but he's passing on what he learned from his mistakes. So, yeah, I'm sitting on the fence on it. I agree and I don't agree. It's really weird. I'm trying to look at it as a glass half full. Hopefully we don't get these stories in the future from this 17-year-old that's with the Warriors now, when he retires in his late 30s, has done something stupid. I don't know.
Late 30s. Wow. I'm surprised you're going to get an NRL career going that long. Wow. Look, I think one of the problems we have here is that we heard what happened. He got sentenced. He disappears into jail. You hear nothing for about a year, and then you hear him come out and go straight into what seems like a job. Now, for the people who don't read the article, it looks like he's gone straight back into a job. For those who read it, then you realise actually it's part-time and it's voluntary. He's not actually getting. But I think a bit more of the story of how he's turned things around or how he's turning things around would help with this, rather than it just suddenly being nothing to bang, he's back involved with rugby league the day he walks out. Talk about what he got up to when he was what rehabilitation, what courses, what stuff has he been involved with. So to me, that's a lot of that time. That story's just not being told. I mean, we've got similar things in rugby union. Xavier Rees obviously got off after hitting his partner in the street and lost his contract in Connacht because of it, but became an All Black that same year. Now, from what I understand from behind the scenes, talking to people at the Chiefs and Waikato Rugby, he did a lot of work outside of that, but we never heard about any of that work. And I still hear people on Twitter from the UK going, "Hey, look at this! The All Blacks, better people, better players," and yet you've got people like Xavier Rees in there, who's a wife beater, because they just hide it and don't talk about the rehabilitation that's going on. And I think that's if you actually if we hear about what rehabilitation's gone on, then we can accept it. But if it's just walking straight out after no news, it sits a bit uneasy.
Yeah, I think it's basically just been released the news today. So I'm sure we might probably get more of that when he goes back into the fold with the Warriors about what he's learned. And like Hammer said, you can't pay for your crime the rest of your life. Which I kind of sit with. I've got close family members who have made similar mistakes and haven't learned them yet, but hopefully they will. Don't even know if he's watching, but yeah, you got to give him a chance. And yeah, like Mark's going on about it. Yeah, meth is a stain on the country.
No doubt about that.
Where we're not, it's not like the Warriors said, they're not condoning what he did. So, but you can't punish someone for the rest of their life for it. If the justice media have decided that he's done enough time, who are we to say? I personally don't think he did. I think he needed more, but we're not in charge. So we'll move on.
Can of worms that one, eh?
Yeah. Last bit before we go into injuries and all that, it was just something opening another can of worms. But this week's Indigenous round, Richie, and I saw a few other people on social media ask the same question. We were wondering why the NRL decided that the Warriors would be the team that missed Indigenous round. Don't get me wrong, I think the Warriors desperately need this bye, but perhaps they should have got it after the Anzac game and played the Indigenous round. Like, if you're not going to give us a home game on Anzac Day, give the Warriors, the only team steeped in Māori culture, a home game for Indigenous round. All the media we've seen celebrating Indigenous round is going on to, celebrating the Aboriginal culture, which is fantastic. But, the NRL is, you've got Māori, Pacific Island. There's a lot of other Indigenous cultures in there that are kind of getting swept under the rug for this one. It just seemed weird to me.
Do they have a separate Pacific round?
No.
No, okay. Sorry, rugby union, they've had an Indigenous round, then a Pacific round. You can or a culture round, then a Pacific round. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it just seems weird because I know they say like the draw is done all by an algorithm, but they were able to decide which team missed out on Magic Round due to crowd. How many of the crowd is from that team. So wouldn't you pencil in going, we need to make sure a New Zealand team is in the Indigenous round? Just seems weird. But yeah, like Jaco said, we've got the bye perfect. It's the bye, taking all of that out. The bye is perfect there because the Warriors had a month of hell and now they get a week off. So I feel like I'm just complaining for the sake of it, but what's your take on it?
That same algorithm you mentioned also handed us the Roosters, Panthers, and Melbourne Storm in 11 days. So I already think the algorithm sucks. But I'm kind of like Jacko. We need this bye pretty badly. It's it's a free 2 points. No, we've released a nice flash-looking jersey today as well. Hopefully, we get to. I don't even know. Are we wearing that at some point, Brad? Do you have any details around that? Because we can celebrate it another round.
I think they may be playing in it in Napier because I know the game against the Dolphins is going to be the Heritage one that we talked about last week. So I think they may be playing in it in Napier. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I saw the media. Hold on. I'm just going on the Warriors website as I go. Round 13. So yeah, Napier, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
So they're wearing it when we're in Napier.
Yeah. So cool. I'm happy.
Yeah, they still get to wear it. Everyone gets to go spend another $200 on a piece of cloth. It will probably sell out day one like the last one did.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing. I feel like the NRL should have a bit more foresight into things. It doesn't seem like they do, but why? What are we surprised for now at the moment? It feels like the boat just keep on kicking you while you're down. But yeah, taking all that away, the bye's at the perfect time for the Warriors to to launch their attack for the rest of the year. So, yeah, I'll stop whining. But yeah, we'll move on. Richie. I've got some signings that I added on. I know I didn't put them in the show notes for you, but the Raiders announced that they signed Jordan Rapana for another year and Albert Hopewadi for another 2. Jermaine Hopgood staying with the Eels until the end of 2025. And the Cowboys have signed Sam McIntyre effective immediately until the end of 2024. What's your take on all those signings that I just threw at you?
All good. No issues with any of those. Rapana and Hopewadi still, they're going all right for Canberra, so why not? Makes sense. Yeah, no arguments, man. Nothing out of the ordinary this week.
Yeah, Mark Rob's asking about the piece of cloth in the background sold out yet. I don't think you can buy that anywhere. I did see some people on Facebook were willing to pay stupid amounts of money for the most beautiful jersey the Warriors have ever made. My cash cow, my retirement fund, eventually when I get rid of it. Hammer's also mentioned that the Knights are looking to offload Bradman Best. I did see that, and it was interesting. It was one of the Safiti boys as well, apparently. But what's your take on Bradman Best? I know the Warriors don't need him at the moment because they've signed Roger as a centre.
And we've got the great Adam Pompey.
And we've got Adam Pompey, at least till the end of the year. There's no news on if he's signed again.
And the master of fifth tackle options, Rocco Berry.
Rocco Berry. So I assume Bradman Best will probably end up a Rooster because that's just what happens. But yeah, what's your take? Do you think Bradman Best will leave the Knights, and where do you reckon he'll end up?
To be honest with you, I hadn't even heard that rumor. So going straight off the top of the dome, I don't know. Does he want to leave? He looked all right on the weekend. He looked pretty good running off some of the plays that Ponga was cooking. No, he's obviously massive, quick, and still young, so still plenty to work with.
If I was the Knights, I'd get rid of Ponga before I got rid of Best, but
Ponga. There you go. Mark reckons it's for salary cap relief. That might make some sense.
Well, yeah, because they paid too much money for Ponga, who only plays good before Origin. So, yeah, that's just bad management. So we'll move on because we're going so long in the news. Paul's loving it. Injuries. We've got quite a few. So Joey Manu has got an ankle ligament injury and is going to miss this week's clash against the Dragons. Perfect time for Sam Walker to come back in if he didn't get injured the same week in reserve grade. So disappointing for him. Josh Aloiai from the Seagulls dislocated his shoulder, and they say he's going to be a few weeks at least. Ronald Volkman from the Warriors had a compound fracture in his finger, where that's the good old one where the bone sticks out, Richie. Did that in the first half, played on, got the match-winning try, but they reckon he's going to miss around 2 weeks. So if he pushes it early, he might be back for the Napier game, or he'll be back the week after, which means a lot of us are probably excited that potentially in Napier we get to see Luke Metcalf maybe. Zach Wolford from the Raiders and Adam Reynolds from the Broncos have both got 11-day stand-downs for head knocks, and Cameron McInnes is going to miss 4 weeks after breaking his hand. A couple of big names in there, Richie. Yeah. What do you reckon? Yeah. Hammers also said Tuolangi and Woods are also out for Manly. Does anyone notice if Woods is even playing though? No.
Not really. And what Mark Roberts said, Bradman Best, the Dolphins, surely. Would that mean they have the most centers in a squad shaped like a prop? With
I think they got too many.
And Brinko Lee.
They got too many centers at the moment.
Yeah. Injury Wood, back on topic. Pretty much on form with the year so far. Plenty of them. Couple of concussion protocols. So I was pretty impressed with young Ronnie Volkman playing on with the bone sticking out of his finger, and once I heard that, I thought that's a pretty brave effort from such a young fella. We heard Munster did the same thing.
Yeah, but see, Munster was
back in
soft. He
round
had to
one.
go off and get it fixed.
Yeah,
He went
no,
off and then came back on. Ronnie didn't go off.
No, so
Tough
and
cookie there.
to pick up the game-winning try. I just think with Tamari Martin out and Luke Metcalf coming back, he got handed a chance, and I don't think he was coming off for anything. He really wanted to play that game.
No, he needed to stamp his authority if he wanted to keep that jersey for himself. So I can understand that. But yeah, full credit to him. And yeah, Hammer said he watched Metcalf live last week, looked good and pulled up good. Yeah, I watched. It was on Facebook, I think, on New South Wales Facebook page. I watched it and thought he looked really good. He only played the first half. They're easing him back in. Didn't know that at the time, so I kind of panicked when I didn't see him in the second half, going, oh no, he's done his league again. But no, he pulled up fine. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in first grade. No disrespect to Volkman, but Metcalf, I think, is a better fit with SJ. Same question, if SJ was out, I would have no issues with Volkman and Metcalf. I think they would pair nicely together too. But so we'll move on. Last bit before we talk about the round, Naughty Boy Corner. Second week in a row we had no bans, Richie.
Yep.
But we had 5 players receive fines. I'll go through them, may as well. Taniela Paseka got $1,800 for a grade 1 careless. Jaden Sewer got $3,000 for a grade 1 careless high tackle. Toby Couchman got $1,000 for a dangerous contact. Junior Bolo got $1,800 for dangerous contact, and then Reese Walsh got $1,500 for a shoulder charge. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see less bans and more fines.
Yep.
Got to pay for the refs' Christmas party at the end of the year. And and Hammer said he was impressed with young Tanner Stower Smith. Yeah, he's a young talent. Played a lot of SG ball this year too. So we'll move on before we get distracted again, Richie.
Yeah.
To round 11. So I'll hand it over to you when you give us the rundown of the Storm defeating the Broncos 24-16.
Yep, as you say, 24-16 Storm's way, 4 tries to 3. Cam Munster, Will Warbrick grabbing 2. Justin Olam grabbing the other. 3 tries for the Broncos, Herbie Farnworth, Jesse Arthurs, and Corey Pates. Bit to unpack here, Brad, obviously, with the officiating. So, yep, go on, do your best.
Yeah, so I thought it was a better effort from the Storm here, but I did expect more points out of them with a one-man advantage for 30 minutes. They do seem to be getting back into the groove, though, but I kind of felt like they were handed this game on a platter. What about you?
I don't know about handed on a platter. I think officiating was pretty poor both ways. Obviously, Broncos copped a couple of harsh ones, sin-bin-wise, but I thought Storm deserved the win. Obviously, the game was strange due to the weird officiating. Still not vintage Melbourne Storm, as we touched on a little earlier. Their roster isn't quite what it was of yesteryear, but a win is a win, and they grabbed it. They needed to get it whatever way it came, so good win for the Storm.
Yeah, and Jacko says Walsh's shoulder charge should have been a penalty try. It probably should have, and it probably would have been if he was still wearing a Warriors jersey. But what was your take?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Jack. I've heard and read of some people in the rugby league community saying that if you're in the act of trying to save a try, you should be able to throw your body any which way you can. I mean, in the name of saving a try, but I don't know that I agree with. I don't know that I agree with compromising safety just because you're trying to save a try.
Essentially, every tackle is trying to stop a try. If no one tackled, they'll just run through and score wherever 100%. You are on the field. So it's
you still have to do it legally.
Yeah. But yeah, what was your take on the Broncos before we go down another rabbit hole?
I don't know. We're aiming for that 2-hour mark. Sorry, Paul. Look, they didn't get the result, but I was actually pretty impressed with how well they hung in there, despite losing Adam Reynolds early and copping 3 sin bins. Yeah, I don't actually think their stocks dropped any at all for me here. I think, if anything, I think they were pretty good in defeat.
No, mate, they just don't know what it's like to have to play away.
That's true.
Um,
That's also true.
they haven't had to travel much, and it showed here. I thought they were off pace, and their discipline needed work. Admittedly, the refs didn't help them, but it's still partly on their shoulders too. They need a bounce back, otherwise people will start writing them off. Going, you had a nice run at the start, but now you're going to fall, and it's not going to be easy this week against Penrith.
Listen to you, the harsh, Brad. I like it. I'm normally harsh on Brisbane, but you've gone to another level there.
Why they're still good, don't get me wrong, but if they start racking up losses now as they head into Origin, where they're going to be depleted during Origin, and we saw what happened when they were missing just Mam and Haas. You tell me, like, they go into admittedly, thankfully they're playing us, but if they go in without Haas, Capewell, Walsh, all those guys, they're going to need a bit more of a backbone if they want to get through that period.
Well, I think that's why I was almost cutting them a little bit of slack, because when I saw Reynolds go down early, I was thinking the worst for them, but I think that they went a little bit better without him than I thought they would.
Yeah. And your player that stood out?
There was a few. I thought Warbrick is starting to get there. Like, obviously he's big, fast, knows his way to a try line, but had some mistakes in him from time to time this year. I think you could have picked anybody in the spine, so I just mini mode and picked up Munster because you picked Hughes.
Yeah, I did go with Hughes. I thought it was probably one of his better games this season. He's kind of been a little bit off the boil, but it looked like he was getting back into check. And yeah, Jacko said Reynolds looked real crook. He could be out for a while. Yeah. I know he's got the 11-day stand down, but it didn't look good. So he might be out for the Warriors game too, which would be fantastic for us. Unfortunately, not great for Adam. But yeah, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later for the Broncos. But if he misses 2 weeks, I'm all for it. But next game, the main game we talk about, Warriors defeating the Bulldogs 24-12, if you want to give us that rundown.
I'll let Paul intervene first.
Yeah, go as long as you like, guys. Got my pretzels, got my beers. I'm settled in for the night.
That looks really good. 4 tries to 2. Josh Curran, Adam Fanor-Blake, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and Ronnie Volkman grabbing our 4 tries. 2 tries for the Dogs, Harrison Edwards and Jaden Okunbor. What'd you make of it, Brad?
Yeah, thought it was a great start to the match, which is something we're slowly getting to say about the Warriors every week. So, that first month where they had horrible starts seems to have been fixed. I thought the Warriors showed some great attacking shape in that first half, and they made a few gutsy plays. Sean with his little early kicks to the corners, which I'm usually screaming at the screen when he does it. One worked, one didn't. But yeah, the second half was a bit of a concern, being super critical. The Warriors slowed down a bit, but I think it was kind of to be expected after, a grueling month of footy with the bye just around the corner. I think we were kind of expecting them to be a bit more lethargic than normal. But yeah, it was a must-win game heading into the bye. Last week being the only time this year they haven't been in the top 8. They needed that win to kind of stay in the race. They got back into the 8. Yeah, and I think it actually sets them up really nicely. What about you?
Yeah, I thought the first half was very clinical, probably our most clinical first half of the year. I do feel like the 3 games in 11 days against top-tier opposition, I think it may have taken its toll in the second half in terms of our fitness, which slowed us down in the second. I saw some players look a little gassed. I think Chance, who put in a massive shift, and as he always does, high energy. Looking at him in the second half, he was a bit slower to get up from some contact, but yeah, I thought it was a really good win nonetheless. Some standout performances. Sean Johnson, Fanor-Blake, Tohu Harris, our back 5 in general were good, so pretty happy.
Yeah, your take on the Bulldogs?
Yeah, obviously not the greatest of first halves from them, but as they've shown this year, they aren't a team to lie down in a much better second half from them. Yeah, again, it's hard to get a read on them just because of the injuries. I felt a bit for Hayes Perham. He looked to be trying to put in the same sort of effort that Chance was doing, but couple of wayward passes and pretty bad mistakes led to points for us.
Yeah, I thought Warriors fans were savage, but I saw some of the comments from Bulldogs fans about poor Hayes
Yeah.
after the game. I was like, poor guy. I saw Mikey's asked, would Fox have made the difference? To be honest, I don't think he would have.
Nah.
I don't think pace on the outside edges was what the Bulldogs were lacking in this game. Firstly, they didn't show up in the first half. They just, too many defensive reads they failed on, like Josh Curran's try. The whole defensive line, rushed forward as you expect. But Hayes wasn't really covering the back. So it's super simple for Sean just to put a kick in, and there was no chases. It was probably the easiest try Curran's ever going to score. And then same as Fanua Blake's.
Yeah, that's why I thought Sean's vision was really good too. I was really happy with that. Like obviously, like you said, the grubber for Curran, but also the Watene Zelezniak's try was after the Adam Pompey intercept, and Paul Alamotti had run all the way across from the other side of the field to help with the chase. And Sean summed that up real quick and saw the lack of numbers there and just popped it over on a dime for him. So.
Has Brad just gone and muted himself?
Yeah, I was going to say I couldn't hear him. I thought it was me. Are you there, Brad? Oh, I like that. I like this version of you, Brad.
So do I. I think it's just a great version of Brad.
Keep trying. Keep trying.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
For some reason, it just said no. Said my mic had lost connection. I don't know why. Yeah,
I obviously thought you were talking crap and decided to just cut you off.
Yeah. But yeah, Jacko said they need a classy 7. I think that's another reason why everyone's talking about Ben Hunt. I think with the Bulldogs team you got now, if you threw Ben Hunt at 7,
game changer,
Burton at 6, that team is amazing. They just need time to build. But who was your player that stood out?
I was thinking about SJ. I had a hunch you were going for him, so another bloke I'm equally impressed with, Adam Fanua Blake. Just like Bjorn was commenting, he's scoring tries for fun. His late footwork at the line, the meterage. He's playing big minutes. He's making all his defensive assignments. So I think he's playing out of his skin. If there's no Payne Haas, he's almost top of the tree in terms of front rows.
Yeah, definitely. And I did go with SJ. Kind of cheated. I was stuck between both of them, but SJ was the guy in my review that I picked as my player of the match. But yeah, it was very close. Just thought he looked clinical, and the only thing I could really hold against him was that second crossfield kick that didn't work. That was it. He was defending well. He was always one of the first men chasing on his own kicks. Everything else was great, and yeah, really great game. But we'll move on.
Yep.
First game, the last game on Friday, Panthers defeating the Roosters 48-4, Richie.
Yep, hiding. 8 tries to 1. Scotty Sorensen grabbed 2. He had a great game. Dylan Edwards, Tyrone Peachy, Brian To'o, Sunia Taruva, Jerome Luai, and Tyrone Peachy grabbed a second. 1 try for the Roosters. Corey Allen. Yep, this was all one way, Brad.
Yeah, it was. I guess this one we don't really have to talk very long about. For Penrith, I had one-way traffic for Penrith. They appear to be back to the team we watched the past 2 years and just look like they played on easy mode.
Yep, agree. High-level game from the Panthers against the highly rated team as well. So
highly rated by you, mate.
By many, not just me. I think I was. We'll touch on them in a sec, but yeah, many of Penrith's big guns stepped up and showed why they're rep footy caliber players.
Yeah. So defend your Roosters now. Go on.
So yeah, I can't defend them. I think during my preseason predictions, I was fooled and lured in by the number of stars in their team, but really concerning this game. If you're a Rooster supporter, they've got the third worst points differential in the comp and the second worst attack in the comp this year. Not the kind of stats you normally associate with the Roosters, but maybe it's a case of too many superstars crammed into the lineup, and they're not gelling together.
Team full of superstars and not a superstar team. And Jago said Brandon Smith worst buy of the year. I think in my predictions I had him as the signing of the year, so I'm going great there. But yeah, concerning performance from your predicted premiers, Richie. They did lose Jared Waweera-Hargreaves early.
Yes.
Which didn't help them, but they were just never in this contest. I think they need some soul searching if they want to be a premiership threat. I know we always say you can never write them off, but there's too many times we're having to say that now, which means maybe you kind of can.
And I know I predicted them to go well this year, but it doesn't mean I'm not enjoying them go poorly.
Exactly.
I'm loving every bit of it.
Your player to stand out?
Jerome Luai. I thought others, obviously Scotty Sorensen was massive.
It's the Ponga effect. It's getting close to Origin.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because there's been a lot of talk about Hines. Maybe he should get selected for Origin, and maybe Luai just thought it's time to put my hand up and remind everybody. I thought he was really dangerous and created a lot of good stuff for the Panthers.
Yeah, I went with Scott Sorensen. Got a double. He's been really good this year, and there's all these rumors about him potentially leaving the Panthers because he's off contract. Would love to have him with the Warriors, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I thought he had a great game, and very happy with how he went. But moving on, first game on Saturday, Rabbitohs defeating Tigers 20-0, Richie.
Yep, easy one. This one, 3-0. Tane Milne grabbing a double, and Latrell Mitchell grabbing the third late in the game.
Yeah, to be honest, I probably expected the Rabbitohs to score more points here, but they defended well, and when they did score, it looked almost at ease. Have to be up with Penrith right now in regards as premiership favourites, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me too. I thought this was an arm wrestle for much of the match, probably more of an arm wrestle than I thought it might be. But it was 6-0 at halftime. That just shows how much of an arm wrestle it was. In the end, I think the 20-0 possibly flatters the Rabbitohs slightly. But they're in good form, and this one hands them top spot on the ladder. So,
yeah, and your take on the Tigers?
I thought they defended courageously for the majority of the game. Unfortunately, the points just weren't there for them this weekend. But I didn't think they were as bad as the 20-0 scoreline might suggest. I thought they hung in the game really well for the most part of it.
Yeah, Tigers, they're back to losing again, but I thought it was a valiant effort against one of the top sides in the comp. They defended well, but they just couldn't build pressure to get any points of their own. If they keep playing with this kind of heart, though, I think they'll get a few more wins before the season's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20. You never want to see the donut, but I think most people were expecting the scoreline we saw with the Panthers game for this one. So I think they'll be disappointed, but a glass half full approach, they would be like, we didn't do too bad. But your player that stood out.
Yeah, I think we're going the same way here, but I went Tane Milne. I think he can be a little bit rocks and diamonds from time to time, but it was the diamonds this week. He put on a beast mode performance.
Yeah, I got him too. He had 3 line breaks, 271 meters. When
tries.
He's on. 2 tries, yeah. When he's on. And this was one of those games, so hopefully for them it continues for him. But yeah, next game. Great game. Cowboys defeating the Dragons, 42-22.
Brad's game of the round. 7 tries to 4. Kyle Felt grabbed 2. Jack goes go
Gawicki.
I don't Gawicki.
Gawicki.
I'm going to look up how to say that. Hylam Lukey grabbed 2. Tom Dearden grabbed 2. A lot of doubles in there. 4 tries to the Dragons. Jack DeBellin, Jaden Saw, Ravalawa, and Moses Sully.
Yeah, so Cowboys, they haven't been great this year, it's fair to admit, but this was an impressive way for them to get back in the right direction. Their attack looks slick, but they'll be disappointed letting those tries in at the back end. They need that killer instinct if they want to get back into the top 8. Your thoughts on the Cowboys?
If you go back to last week, we were speaking a little bit about how beating the Roosters at Magic Round might be the confidence boost that the Cowboys needed to turn their season around with some favorable games coming up. And yeah, it showed. Look what they did, what they're able to do here in this game. If they keep turning up like this, they may be able to work themselves back into finals contention.
Potentially. And your thoughts on the Dragons?
I think it all just came to a head this week. They've lost so many arm wrestles in tight games, know, and recently. I think it all just kind of collapsed this week. And with Griffin now confirmed sacked, I wonder how things behind the scenes have been going over the past couple of weeks, and if that's affected the Dragons pretty badly here.
I think you'd have to say it did affect them. It would have been affecting them all year when your coach has got everyone watching and, basically demanding that he doesn't have the job anymore. And then he starts making decisions to try to dig out of the hole that don't work, and you're just getting more and more in. They're just simply a mess. We've already talked about it at the start of the show when we talked about Griffin getting sacked. Yeah. But I'll give them some credit. They got points at the back end of that match, make the score look a little bit more respectable, not by a lot, but a little bit. As I said earlier, though, they just have to wipe the blackboard and start from scratch if they can be deemed competitive again. But it ain't going to happen this year. Who was your player that stood out?
Had to go Hylam Lukey. Similar to some other players running around this week, and he just was hard to ignore. Just couple of beautiful tries, and he just looked on. He really stood out. That's for sure. He's a perfect candidate for players that stood out. He looks like someone that might show up in the Queensland roster in the next couple of years potentially if he stays on the field, because he's had a bit of a wretched run with injury.
Yeah, I picked him as well. Basically all the same reasons you had. And yeah, I see Nigel said from the body language he saw when the Dragons landed in Sydney, you wouldn't think they lost. To be honest, yeah, I don't think the players actually care. I know you can't say that in media and stuff like that because you're not in their mind. But with all the stories you hear about them, it's like I think they knew the writing's on the wall this season. Just who cares if so. I don't know, but we'll move on to the Raiders defeating the Eels 26-18, Richie.
Yep, Simon will be loving everything the Raiders are doing at the moment. 4 tries to 3. Albert Hopewadi, Hudson Young, Sebastian Chris, and Matty Tomoko grabbing the game sealer at the end. 3 tries for the Eels, Jermaine Hopgood, Bailey Simonson, Micah Seaval.
Yeah, Raiders are on a roll. Their forwards controlled the middle, halves directed well, and their backs made the most of everything they were given. And defensively, they were sound, so they kind of ticked all the boxes you want to be successful. They forced the Eels into errors. I think they're going under the radar still. No one's talking about the Raiders, as being a title threat by any stream. They're a solid team, and I think they're going to cause a lot of teams headaches as the season goes on. But what's your take on the Raiders?
Yeah, I think they've done really well to put together this win streak that they're on. They never seem to look really flashy or put teams away big, but they're consistently finding ways to win now, which is a sign of a strong team.
Yeah, and your take on the Eels?
Maybe missing Mitch Moses a little bit, although I thought Jay Carthers didn't go too bad. The Raiders are a tough side to put away at home. And for an inconsistent team like the Eels, the classic tipper's nightmare team, I had a hunch this might be a tough game for them.
Yeah, I think we both said we picked the Raiders in this game because Mitchell wasn't playing. And they definitely missed him. They're back to being consistently inconsistent. They made too many errors, gave away too many penalties. They're a good side. They just need to get the basics right every week. Easier said than done, I know. But who was your player that stood out?
I put Medi Timoko. I'm impressed with him most weeks. I think he's really developing into a fantastic centre. He's always seems to be making real great yards, tackle breaks, and he, like I said a little earlier, he picked up the game sealing try there. So I think he's a good player. Canberra's got a good one there.
Yeah, I went with Hudson Young. Think he's going from strength to strength this year. He was already a fantastic player, and he had a bit of grubbiness in him, which I do like, but he's toned that down to a point where he's not a target by the refs. So I think they got a good one there, and he'll do some good things for them now that he's signed a new deal. We'll move on to the first game on Sunday, the game that Paul doesn't like because it ruined our multi. But the Knights defeating the Titans 46-26.
Yeah, points first here, and I think the bye really helped the Knights freshen up, and it showed. 8 tries to 5. Dom Young grabbed 1, 2. Tyson Frizzell grabbed 1. Greg Mazu, Bradman Best grabbed 2. Kalen Ponga back to best form, and Dane Gagai grabbed the tries. 5 tries for the Titans. David Fafita with 2, Philip Sami, Jaden Campbell, and Khan Pereira.
Yeah, Knights look good after their bye, as you said. And with the Origin selection on the horizon, Ponga decided to pull a finger out and play. Great attacking display from Newcastle, and their fans will hope they can build on this performance. What was your take on Newcastle?
Yeah, I thought it was a great attacking performance from them. Ponga obviously found his confidence that we've said he's been lacking since he's been back, and he pulled out a fantastic game, so credit to him. He must have heard Brad saying that the Knights are a better team without him.
They are. I still stand by that.
Fair enough.
Your take on the Titans?
Just the Titans are starting to look better recently. Their defense has let them down again this week. Some nice attacking play at times, as you more often than not see with the Titans, but conceding 8 tries, you're always going to struggle conceding that many.
Yeah, I got on here the Titans fade again. 12 all at halftime, and then they just let this game slip. Defense continues to be their issue. Until they fix that, they're always going to be at the risk of losing heavy. Ruined the standoff multi, as I already said, so I'm a bit dirty on them. So I'll leave it there. But your player to stand out, I think we picked the same person.
Yeah, Ponga. I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, Paul's showing us the multi there where that beautiful little red on the Titans.
We should have gone with the Titans. Yeah, we should have gone with the Knights off the bye at home. I can't believe we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I went with Ponga as well. I think, all the talk about Reece Walsh should be fullback for Queensland. Ponga paid attention. And it's annoying. He should be doing this every week. I know this is the part where we're complimenting him, but you should, for what he's get paid, should be his, base level performance. So yeah, more of that for Newcastle. Last game, Sharks defeating Manly 20-14.
Yep, as you said, 20-14. The Sharks 3 tries to 2. Royce Hunt, Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian with the 3 tries for the Sharks. Ruben Garrick, Lockie Croker with the 2 tries for Manly.
Yeah, I've got a strong start from the Sharks, but their attack lost some sting with some silly errors and penalties as the game went on, which isn't something we expect from them. Not their best performance, but to win away from home like this isn't bad. I expect a big bounce back this week against the Knights. What was your take on the Sharks?
Yeah, I thought this was a decent bounce back from their poor performance against the Dolphins at Magic Round, without setting the world on fire, obviously. And they did let the Sharks score a couple of tries in the last 20, but they've notched another win and kept themselves up there towards the top four. So,
yeah. And your take on Manly?
I even think Manly were a step up from their poor Magic Round showing, but still not enough to get the win for them. They're a lot better at home at Brookie, but yeah, I just don't think they're quite there at the moment.
And Mark Robertson's commenting about Origin. There's less games, so we'll finish early.
We'll find a way, Mark.
We'll find a way. It always happens. Yeah.
I think I'll just start earlier to make sure.
But yeah, for me, Manly, they just took too long to get into the contest. I think you're going to cover it a little bit later, and Jacko's just mentioned it. But yeah, we talked about Tommy Turbo not being 100%, but we saw that here with him being outrun by Nakora. That should never happen. Lots of work-ons if they want to make the top 8. I don't know if they can, unless something magical happens.
Yeah.
Your player to stand out?
Second week in a row. I'm going with him for the wrong reasons. Tommy Turbo. I think I saw even more evidence this week, like you just touched on. Burned on the outside by a second rower. At this point, even as a Blues fan, I don't think I could select him for Game 1 State of Origin. A lot of talk that they may still pick him, and he won't be playing fullback. He'll be playing right centre, so less running involved. I just think it would be an injustice when you've got somebody like Stretch over at the Rabbitohs, who's just playing the house down at right centre. Campbell Graham I'm referring to, obviously. I don't think I could pick Tommy Turbo right now.
Oh, come on. Fittler loves picking players that shouldn't be there.
He does.
I went with Nico Hines. Wasn't his best game by any stretch. He probably should have had a bit better of a game if he wants to get into Origin and stuff, but he was accurate at the kicking tee, set up a nice try. What more can you ask for him? Thought it was a decent outing for him as well. But yeah, that is the round. So I think, do we have the ladder first, Paul? We do. I did top 8 last week, so you can do it this week, Richie.
Yep. Number 1 is now South Sydney Rabbitohs. They've overtaken Brisbane. Number 2, Brisbane Broncos. 3, Penrith Panthers. 4, the Sharks. 5, Melbourne Storm. 6th is the Dolphins. 7th is Canberra, and the Warriors move back into the top 8. So happy days.
Happy days. And then the bottom of the barrel. We got the Titans at 9th, Roosters at 10th, Newcastle 11th, Manly 12th, Cowboys gone up to 13th now. Eels went down to 14th. Bulldogs are 15th, Dragons 16th, and Tigers 17th. Got a couple of weeks, I reckon we're going to be able to switch those two. But yeah, still a surprising ladder. There's a few teams in that bottom that I thought would have been in the top. Not too surprised about Rabbits, Penrith, and that being up where they are. But yeah, not a bad ladder. As long as the Warriors stay on the left-hand side, I'm happy. Next bit is our tips. Probably the best week we've had collectively as a group. Simon 7 out of 8. He only got that Titans game wrong. So he's on still top of the table, 58 out of 88. You and I both got 6 out of 8. Looking at it, we both got the Broncos losing and the Titans losing wrong. So we are both on 51 out of 88. Simon's effectively a whole round ahead of us.
How consistent is Simon right now?
Yeah, he's just hitting them all the time. So yeah, well done, Simon. But next bit is question time.
Thank you. I'm great. I know I am.
So question time. We'll go with the questions from everyone. If you've got any.
Well, yes. Well, how's your fantasy team going? You get that every week.
It was better this week. I did quite well. I got like an 800, which is good for me. And yeah, I had all the Dolphins out, and the Dolphins are my money makers. So they're back this week, and I've only got one Warrior in my team, so it doesn't affect me too much.
So you did well for you.
I did well for me, not well in terms of fantasy.
Yeah. Nice.
What do you think of the culture jersey? And I'll bring it up so you can see the new culture jersey that's been released by the Warriors.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's similar to the one they had last year, except we've got the black hole in the center of the jersey now. I like the colors. It's fine.
Yeah.
The logo in it for the your kind of racist party, one New Zealand. I mean,
yeah,
it's a stupid name for a company, but anyway. I guess I think it's a very cool jersey. My only comment would be that it doesn't look like a Warriors jersey, as it doesn't follow Warriors colours. I think they should be consistent with their they should be consistent with their sort of their main jersey on the colour theme. And
come on, we're wearing black and silver in like 3 weeks. You know, our colours, we're all over the place with our colours.
Well, yes.
That's what makes us the Warriors.
Okay. Do you think there should be a Pacific Island All-Stars team that play Australia, England, and New Zealand? My first comment for that would be trying to get Australia to play a game outside the Rugby League World Cup is impossible. So good luck there. So perhaps just against England and New Zealand.
I actually think at least the big two of the Pacific Island teams are viable enough to play these teams on their own at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same. I don't want to see a all-stars team because I would rather see Samoa and Tonga and Fiji play as themselves, and they're more than good enough to play by themselves. But yeah, as Paul said, we can't get the Australians don't want to play nobody. And the only reason they play as the World Cup is because, they don't want someone else to be called world champions without them having a chance to do it. So they'll show up for the World Cup, and that's basically it.
4 nations: Samoa, Tonga, New Zealand, England. It sounds great.
Love it. Yeah, I'm all in.
Yep, as Simon says, yeah. Tonga and Samoa fighting without Gimmickry, Mickey Mouse All-Stars team. And Jacko, just another jersey. Sooner or later there'll be a new design. Anyway, and Mark Roberts has got Brad in round 14 in fantasy. Well, that's a free win for you there, Mark.
Easy win for you there, Mark.
And Jacko's on your page. Yeah, leave all the out and have a 4 nations.
Yeah,
they don't care about the internationals. If they don't care, kick them out. But then they complain when they lose their world ranking because they don't play games, and they don't understand. You got to play games to get points for the rankings. But trying to explain maths to Australians is not the easiest thing.
Well, true. So Bjorn wants to know, Adam Fanua-Blake has 5 tries so far this season. As a barnstorming prop, Brad, how many did you score in your career?
I'm pretty sure I'm confident to say that Fanua-Blake scored more tries this year than I did in my lifetime.
Brad,
whoa, slow down, boy. You've still got a few years left in you.
I am well and truly retired.
How many tries in your lifetime, in your career, Brad?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Not many. Maybe 2 or 3. I'm not a try scorer.
0.
I would say Brad is an offload specialist. Tell him how many offloads, Brad.
Yeah, offloads through the Sonny Bill wishes he could offload like Brad Inger, I tell you. So it's probably more how many tries were set up from Brad offloads than tries scored by Brad. I can remember. I'll tell you this story. I know we're going long, but it doesn't matter. We had a high school reunion, Paul, and I had got myself fit for like the first time in my life. I was in good shape, doing preseason for the Marlins. I went down to play past first presents for my first 15, playing the current first 15.
It's rugby. Brad was not fit during his entire school career.
Never.
What we're trying to say here.
I went into every preseason saying I'm going to be fit, and then I got fit by the last game of the season. But yeah, I got the ball, got over the line. It's like I'm finally going to score a try in front of all my classmates from yesteryear, and I dropped it over the line. That's the type of try scorer I am, guys. Untouched, no one hit the ball out of my hand. It was just completely so excited I was scoring a try that I botched it.
You already had your celebration queued up in your head,
Yeah, I had the LTD finger ready to go.
Premature there with everything. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
But
Anyway.
other than that, it was a fantastic game.
A serious question to round us off. If the Warriors had an unlimited salary cap like the Roosters, which 5 players would you sign?
You want to go first, Brad, or me?
You go first.
You might as well go right to the top. Nathan Cleary, obviously. Might as well take another member of their spine, Dylan Edwards. Some forwards. Payne Haas. Maybe Paddy Carrigan, and where else are we lacking? Centres. Let's go.
You're stealing all my picks, mate.
Let's go.
You're allowed for the same 5.
Let's go. Campbell Graham.
Yeah, so that's your 5. So Joey Manu, Payne Haas. I'm trying to. Oh, now I've gone blank. Who were the ones you just said?
Paddy Carrigan, Cleary, and Edwards.
Yeah, Cleary, obviously. Reid Marnie. And Carrigan. Yeah, that's my 5. Jacko said Fisher Harris. Yeah, Fisher Harris would get too many penalties playing for the Warriors.
Not Harry Grant over Reid Marnie?
Nah. I like Reid Marnie. I don't know why. But yeah, I feel like Reid would fit more into the Warriors. So Mark says I did a Sonny Bill. No, Sonny Bill ran too far. I didn't go that far. I try to run as little as possible.
Brad take contact kind of guy.
It was actually more close to what Jacko said. It was more like Katoa's try in the weekend. That was almost a carbon copy.
And Nicholas says you would have literally got all the girls at your school if you'd scored that try, Brad. Look, he'd left school at the time, so probably a good idea he didn't.
Yeah.
To be honest, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
we'll keep that there.
What I've got on there, he says, I'm just thinking you should scrap the World Cup, replace it with the World League played over a 4-year period. No, sorry, but having it as an event, I think it makes it much more meaningful. It gets much more attention.
Yeah, I'm still with the World Cup. I like the spectacle. But yeah, any other questions from anyone?
No. So you're going to skip yours with each other because we're running long, or you're just going to go with them?
No. I had a good one for Richie, so I want to keep it. Do you want me to go first or you?
You go first. You got a good question. I don't have a good answer. So
all right. So this question came to me before when I was trying to sleep. I'd say in the weekend. In my opinion, Reece Walsh leaving the Warriors made both the Warriors and Broncos better sides. What other player switch could do the same for 2 other clubs?
Could do this? I don't know, mate. Honestly, and I'm trying to think of instances that have happened already. I think I can think of plenty where one team has benefited. Tedesco from the Tigers to the Roosters. Hines from the Storm to the Sharks, a more recent one. Plenty of instances like that. But I think it's made one team a lot better while not really affecting the other in any positive way. So my answer, I don't know. I couldn't come up with a good answer unless I'd love to hear if you had a good one, or if anyone in the comments had a good one, because I racked my brain for a long time and couldn't think of any instances where a swap has made both teams benefit.
It's not which one has, it's which one would in the future.
I know. And even then, I'd just be speculating. I couldn't really think of it.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of one either.
It was that good a question.
Yeah. I was looking for a question you couldn't answer, which probably isn't great for the show. But I couldn't think of one either.
Bloody amateur.
It was a good question. No one can answer that question.
If anyone in the comments has a good answer for that,
yeah,
I'd love to
like
read
you
it.
said, I can think of heaps that that one player would make this team good.
Yeah,
but I don't. It's the making their own team better as well, and it's probably controversial of me saying that Walsh leaving made the Warriors better. But I personally think they do look better. Admittedly, there's other cogs, but that flows into it as well. But your question for me?
Easy. Oh, my one's a bit more straightforward for you, Brad. Being the Queensland supporter and being the resident front rower of the show, go ahead and select me your Queensland forward pack and bench forwards for State of Origin 1.
Yeah, this was hard. I've gone my front row. I've got Josh Papali'i, Harry Grant, and Big Tino. Second row, I've got Kurt Capewell and Felice Kafusi. And then I've got Pat Carrigan at lock. Then my bench, I've gone with Ben Hunt, Lindsay Collins, Ruben Cotter, and David Fafita.
Nice.
It was hard. There was a few players that I had to leave out.
Yeah, it is hard this year. That's why I felt like asking it, because Queensland have a lot of really good forward options right now. My one would have been Lindsay Collins, Harry Grant, Tino front row. I want to reward Fafita for what he's done this year, so I'm giving him a start on the left edge. Kafusi on the right edge, Carrigan at 13, with a bench of Josh Papali'i, Tom Flegler, Cotter, and Ben Hunt. But then I know a couple of good ones are missing out, but she's tough.
Yeah, and Nicholas asked if we own Origin jerseys. I don't.
I have a New South Wales singlet. I don't have a jersey.
See, any excuse for Richard to have the guns out on the show. All right, so that was our questions. We may as well jump into round 12. But before we do, sorry, Paul, I haven't filled you in on this. We've got an extra bit. There's no Warriors game, so we don't have a Warriors picture.
Sorry, an extra bit.
Extra bit. Because I knew we weren't going to go long tonight, so I wanted to add. So it's a quick one, I promise, Paul. A bye this week for the Warriors, Richie. So I thought I would ask you your thoughts on the first 11 rounds of the Warriors and your best player and your biggest surprise player so far.
Now, Richie,
So,
you're not allowed to go
quick.
game by game, okay?
Yeah.
Overall,
Quick. Quick overall. Yeah.
Let me summarize this. We have gone much better than I thought we would at this point. Asked me at the start of the season, I was struggling to find us with more than maybe 3-4 wins, but at this point of the season, not even halfway through, we've already matched our total wins for last year.
Yep.
The best thing has been the culture shift and like just how much more organized we look, and our game plan looks a whole lot better. So yeah, as a whole, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think we're in with a great chance of hitting the 8 this year when you look at the back half of our draw. So if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. But yeah. Best player, SJ. Biggest surprise, Jackson Ford.
Yeah. So yeah, me. They've exceeded my expectations. In our preview, I had them at 2, maybe 3 wins at this point. By the first bye, but the immediate change we've seen has been outstanding. Teams been playing with resilience, and despite the draw, the injuries, and all the other noise from officials, they've made me proud. Anything less than finals will be a disappointment now. And my best player has been AFB, tied leading try scorer for the Warriors, and biggest surprise again, Jackson Ford. We laughed about his signing last year. I love to remind myself. We thought it was a bit of a joke that this Dragons player of all people was going to come, but he's done really well. Next part, the actual round now, Paul. So we'll bring you back. Sorry for going off the rails there. And yeah, Simon is here with his picks. So first game on Thursday, Broncos Panthers. I've gone with Panthers. I don't see the Panthers have been on a roll, and they're not going to lose to the Broncos twice in one season.
Yeah, Panthers looked very good on the weekend. No Adam Reynolds for Broncos, so
yeah,
Panthers.
And
Panthers going to jump on the back and rip that throat out of the of that old horse that's galloping away. So yeah, it's horse meat for the Panthers.
Our show would be quicker every week if you didn't have these bloody puns, Paul. You know,
but it'd be worse. It'd be worse off without them, though.
First game on Friday, Dragons Roosters. I vowed never to pick the Dragons again, so I'm going Roosters.
Yeah, too much drama in the Dragons camp this week. I think I have to go Roosters.
Absolutely, it's the Roosters. There, I mean, hopefully with the unlimited salary cap, they should win.
They should.
Yeah, and next game on Friday, Rabbitohs Eels. Kind of rinse and repeat what I said about Panthers. Rabbits are on a roll, so I've gone with them.
Yep, Rabbits.
Yep, Killer Rabbits. Everyone's watched that Monty Python sketch. It's that's what we're going to see against the Eels.
It's going to be a big multi for you, I think, this week, Paul.
Yes, I'm thinking that
too. First game on Saturday, we've got Sharks Knights. Gone with the Sharks. Knights had that great little game, but yeah, I think the Sharks at home, too much for them.
Yep, agree.
Yep, they're going to sink with all that armor on. They need to. You can't swim. Since it's a home game for the Sharks, it's in the pool, so the Sharks will win.
Next game on Saturday, Tigers Cowboys. Yeah, Cowboys. They kind of hit 2 in a row at the moment. I think they'll make it 3.
Yeah, agree. Cowboys.
Yep, we're going to see that Tiger. So yeah, the big cat's going to go down, but look, the Tigers are just a disaster, aren't they?
5-game multi so far. Next game, Dolphins Storm. I've gone with the Storm. You know, Dolphins have been good, but yeah, I think the Storm are gonna get this one.
I've gone Storm, but I've doubted the Dolphins so many times this year. I'm sticking firm with the Storm.
Yep, Simon thinks that the Dolphins aren't going to cope with the Storm in their little sea there. But I'll look on it. If it was Paul doing this, Paul would go Dolphins all day because you guys just don't trust the Dolphins. But so yeah, Simon says the Lightning is going to strike. Is going to strike here.
First game on Sunday, we've got Bulldogs Titans. I've gone with the Bulldogs. I don't really know why, other than the fact that the Titans did me dirty last week.
I went the other way here. I think this is a real toss of the coin game, and I think the Titans.
So you gone Titans?
I've gone Titans.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the odds, this is the closest game of the round. $1.97 for the Bulldogs, $1.80 for the Titans. I'm going for the Titans with their armor on. The Dogs just not be able to get to bite through that. So, yeah, this is a tight one.
Yeah, and then last game of the round, Raiders Seagulls. I've gone Raiders. Raiders at home are hard to beat, and Manly just aren't convincing yet.
Yeah, one in form, one not in form. Raiders very good at home. Raiders.
Green Machine, absolutely. As those Eagles sweep down, we're going to knock them out the sky. So absolutely, this is Raiders all the way, and that makes it a
7-game multi,
which means we're definitely not going to win it. But anyway, $2 on gets us $25 back if it were to happen, but very unlikely. Bjorn asks, without the Warriors, which game are you most looking forward to, boys?
For me, probably Broncos Panthers.
Yeah, me too. I'd say that's probably the biggest profile game. But bummed out Adam Reynolds can't be there to compete in the game. You know, you want the best versus the best, but
if the Roosters play well, then Roosters Dragons. Because I want to see the Dragons. I want to see the Dragons keep going down.
Brad wants to see a century scored. Interesting that the closest game is not the game you guys are interested in, which is the Dogs Titans. There. Caden Rogers reckons that with Griffin gone at the Dragons, that Brad and Richie should go in there and co-head coach, which I think would be a disaster with co-head coaches, but be a barrel of laughs. Perhaps get the.
I'd love it. Get me in
the
there. I'd
Netflix
burn that
TV
place
comes
to
in
the
there.
ground.
Yeah,
I'd make sure they get relegated.
that's the only reason I'd go there. Burn it.
Inside job, sabotage it.
Do you remember? But any other question? Yeah, could you make it worse than it is now? That's the.
I definitely could.
Yeah, I'd go full on Steve Kearney mode and play 5 hookers.
Yeah.
So there's the multi, by the way, folks. For those who are following our multi, well, following Paul losing money on the the multis. But there we go.
Yeah, well, I'll be sitting here laughing when my 8-game multi pulls through, Paul.
Look, I'm not going to scoff at $25 back.
If my 8-game multi pulls off, your 7-game multi pulls off too. So
well, true. Yes.
But yeah, so that's basically it for the show. I'll just do a quick rundown of the Super League because Simon will probably explain why they're not playing this week. They're not playing till the 25th. So we'll have another show before then. But there was some games. I tried to Super League's really hard to get news out of for why they're not playing. But yeah, Simon will pop up with the million reasons that I couldn't find. But Hull FC defeated Wakefield, so Wakefield still haven't got a win. They lost 26-6. Lee defeated Uddersfield 30-4. Leeds defeated Wigan quite well. Challenge Cup, of course. Challenge Cup. Leeds defeated Wigan 40-18. Massive surprise there. Kellens defeated Castleford 46-22. Warrington defeated Hull KR 21-14. And St. Helens defeated Salford 26-12. And yeah, see, Jacko's leaving, but we're about to leave too. So I didn't write down the Challenge Cup. So we'll talk about that next week, Richie.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we go?
Not a lot. Just weekly thanks to everybody. It was a fun one tonight. I enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a great weekend and get a rest like the Warriors.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on Rugby League, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or at your convenience on iHeartRadio. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers for joining me again, Richie, and thanks, Paul, for all your work in the back. Paul. And good night, everyone.